The best solution, I've heard of two. I mean, first of all, it's terrible that same-sex behavior is a capital punishment.
Yes,
Obviously, it's terrible.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
So there are two solutions. I mean, first, for one solution is obviously advocate to decriminalize. And it's hard to tell how successful we're going to be at that. But the other solutions that I've seen are when everybody knows that it's kind of a bad idea to kill people. So they work out this kind of informal arrangement where the pastors, you know, or community groups, more like community groups than pastors, but where community groups will somehow help provide prevention and treatment services, and the police will say, yeah, we're just kind of ignore that. So it's like an informal social arrangement. The other, and this is specifically in faith communities, sometimes faith communities can create safe spaces that are all like sanctuaries. You know, the sanctuary city movement in the U.S. is an example of that. But faith communities can sometimes work out a way to have a safe space for people, whether they are gay or heterosexual or injection drug users, to talk about their issues without fear of prosecution. So those are the two things. Obviously, I'd love to see decriminalization, but short of that, those are the two things that I've seen. Yes.
Do you have any statistics at all about the potential spread due in the war-torn countries due to
Conflict zones? Yeah. Certainly, HIV is spread frequently in conflict zones. Issues like rape, for one, and just the exacerbation of poverty and all those other things. I haven't seen any statistics, so I don't know how much worse it is. I really doubt that it's any better than anywhere else. But I'm afraid I don't have any statistics on that.
I didn't know if there was any correlation between that and the increasingly rapid spread of
the disease isn't spreading that rapidly. The place where we worry about it, like I said, we're in with young people and the rapidly growing young population. And then other areas of the world where it's starting to come into play. So many African countries actually have a good handle on it, short of that the young people and the worries about their future. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. That it seems like it might be easier to talk to the pastors in Africa than the pastors in America.
Yes. But the question was, what about pastors in the U.S.? There was a movie made 4 years ago called God Loves Uganda, and it described a church that for some reason had decided that they were going to promote the criminalization of same-sex behavior in Uganda. And it was very moving and very frustrating. And there are certainly parts of, and I'll call them conservative Christianity or evangelical Christianity, which is an oversimplification, that somehow seem very strident in letting the social and moral issues get in the way. But there are also others who, from we would also you'd call conservative evangelicals, who have been very active in trying to address the AIDS epidemic. And so Rick and Kay Warren at Saddleback Church, they're often thought of as the evangelical group, but they've had an active AIDS program for 10 years at least.
It seems like maybe reaching out, I've been a youth minister for most of my life, so it seems like reaching out to the youth ministry, a way to get some young people, because we were just talking earlier, there is apathy. Young people today, when I was in the 80s, it was a big issue, and we all talked about it, but now nobody talks about it, and we have a whole new generation of young people.
Yeah, and that's why for example, in Travis County, new infections are going up. It's because of the lack of that education. And I agree completely about programs for young people in church as being a great way to address and educate. All for it. Kevin?
Could you talk a little bit about in terms of the younger people in Africa, and a higher rate of infection due to following that? But could you talk about what are sex education programs there? Are y'all working with them to teach safer sex or anything like that?
The only work that we have done is working with pastors and their youth groups. And there it's been mostly a question of starting conversations. And once the conversations start, then that helps progress. I hadn't understood the implications of this growing youth population until I was at that conference in Paris this summer. And there is the social dynamics of the older man, younger woman, and the girls in the ages of 15 to 20 are like the highest demographic, the highest new infection rate of any demographic. And it's often because of things like this sugar daddy connection. And it's just a cycle. It just goes on and on and on. And that's driven in large part by poverty. So keep doing what you do. Some churches in Africa have found that they haven't been able to relate well to young people. And I think part of that is the social complexity of issues. Kids have sex. We don't want to talk about that, so maybe they won't. It's that kind of thing that I think has made it difficult for some churches to deal effectively with the young people. We keep encouraging everyone that we see to think, just start talking. Just start talking. Yeah.
You mentioned talking to pastors in Africa and pastors in the United States and kids. How is it walking into a political leader's office? Is it, sort of the same sort of situation? Is it worse? Is it better? I see that as one of those difficult things.
Well, that's why we want you guys to do this, because you do that. I can talk about my experience with Lloyd Doggett, which was very positive. We did a joint op-ed in the Australian Statesman several years ago, and he was helpful with some human rights activities at the State Department. So that was really, really positive. I think the political issues, the political challenges right now are the most important thing for Americans to do to address the AIDS epidemic. It's the politics in Washington that we have to get past. And I like to talk about it as being a resurgence of American leadership. What did George W. Bush did in 2003 with PEPFAR was remarkable. It's the one thing that everybody agrees he did well. And it was a piece of American leadership in the world that it was remarkable. And the reason we've made as much progress as we have, a lot of that was George W. Bush. So kudos to George W. Bush for doing that. I would love there to be a politician in Washington who would like similar kudos. And Mary. You too. You're the one. Joyce.
As part of the argument for our politicians, do we have some other examples where the U.S. has played a leadership role in eliminating a disease or some malady out there, and how that financial investment compares to what we're asking for here?
The question was, are there other examples, maybe other diseases, where American leadership has led to a good resolution and we've seen the payoff? I don't know for sure, but two examples, two things that I do know. One is there was a big resurgence in malaria about 40 or 50 years ago because we were all set to eliminate it. And I don't know what it was that we did to blow it, but we blew it. And there were charts just like you saw up there, but for malaria. It was deaths from malaria, whoops, way up after the complacency set in. What I do know is that the return on investment for $1 in HIV globally for HIV services is something like a factor of 8. So, it's more than you get from your local hedge fund. But it's just a remarkable payoff. But it's a payoff in terms of global growth and economic growth, and there's no longer a drag on the economy because you've lost a generation of people or things like that. So the payoff is really high. And the economic models show that.
The other thing to worry about is as some of our politicians now are de-emphasizing global leadership, we need to think about what impact does this epidemic have on domestic situations, and be able to hunt for some arguments that we can use that impact politicians to think that way.
Yeah. The domestic HIV services were at serious risk this summer. I don't know what the implications of last week's decisions are going to be for HIV in particular. I'm sure it's not going to help, but I don't know what they are. I have seen people talk about foreign aid as being in the interest of national security. All of these things say that we should do this. And there are people who are smarter than I in Washington making those arguments. And if we can get ground well support, raise awareness, then let's push on those people and give them some help to make those arguments.
How successful have we been with polio and smallpox in terms of examples of how we can be effective?
Yeah, smallpox and polio are good suggestions because those are largely eradicated. We got the last few little places that will go, but those are good examples.
But polio, we can credit the Rotary Club a lot for that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
So if we could partner with some of those other global.
Yeah. Now the Rotary Club has solved polio, let's get them to solve AIDS.
Yeah.
Okay, no, good thought. Good thought.
Those are all good topics, and perfect lead into results work. I know last year we worked on mother and child mortality, and one of the big things about children was vaccinations for new diseases, new vaccinations that have come out in the last decade for pneumonia diseases and for diarrheal disease. So those are things that results addresses on a large scale. As far as there being paralysis in Washington, as Ann pointed out the story about the education bill, we are, despite what you see with the shenanigans that are happening up there, under the covers, quietly, a bill has been passed and signed into law, but it's because of all the dirt work of getting members on both sides of the aisle to support an issue. And that's what results is about.
And that's also where I think AIDS is a possibility because it has had bipartisan support for so long. So that's something that we can build on. Very few congressmen want to say, well, let's get rid of AIDS. Okay, let's get rid of AIDS funding. Everybody says get rid of AIDS, but let's get rid of AIDS funding.
Thank you.